the past week. We can start with Orlando Pride. I had an opportunity to track that one a little bit more while Alicia was out further west. Pride, it was a frustrating and disappointing situation for them. Suffered a 1-0 loss. Looked like they had an equalizer late, but Christina Birkenrode was ruled offside on her one goal late in the game. A dent in the playoff hopes, but the team is still very upbeat and optimistic about the future.
That's good. I was following along as best I could during the games while I was gone, and saw that a lot of people said it was a heartbreaker and things like that for the Pride game.
Yeah, our weather delay there didn't really help where we had both teams going continuously. But let's talk about Orlando City, because I think it was a little bit surprising.
Yeah.
A tough one to start the road swing, and then quite the empowering one to close it. Tell us what you saw.
Yeah, so the New York trip was the tough one for them. The loss, another shutout on the road, extended their winless streak on the road to 7 games with that one. And the locker room was really upset afterwards, after the game. It took them a little while to get themselves together for the interviews and things like that. It kind of looked like they've looked the past couple of weeks, and it just wasn't motivating for fans to see that. But so then going into Vancouver, long road trip. Not only they lost Breck Shea because they got the yellow card in the New York game, and then they also lost Harrison Heath, who had been starting the past few games in midfield for them. He sprained his MCL in the New York game as well. And Carlos Rivas couldn't travel to Vancouver because of visa issues. So they come off of this terrible loss against New York, and they're going on a long 5.5-hour trip to Vancouver without some of these players. So the outlook was not good. People didn't have a lot of faith, didn't have a lot of hope that they were going to be able to pull out a result, and they actually put a cobbled together lineup with a very aggressive attack. They had Baptista in the lineup, and they were able to pull it together. They rallied, they tied in Vancouver, and gave everybody a little bit of hope that in that situation, in that scenario, with that lineup, they were able to pull out at least a point on the road.
Excellent, yeah. Watching from afar, it was very interesting to see Julio Baptista, the energy that he brought, the overall energy level of the team, especially with so many people out. Just really interesting post-game, people just saying they were tired of losing and fought through that. Something that the interim coach had discussed being part of the locker room mentality, but it's the first time it really translated to the field, and it was interesting. Great for us to get that perspective, great for us to see a little bit more about the team beyond Batista. I think it was really interesting to see Kevin Molino really pushing the tempo, Kyle Laren doing his best. It was quite the mix, and I think it was a positive sign for the team. All right, we'll switch over to questions. Again, you can send us questions via @OSLions on Twitter or via Facebook Live at any point. We have quite a few. First up, Kyle Mirdo, Meards Beards. Thanks for rejoining us, Meards Beards. We missed you last week. I know you had a work conflict. Missed these while I worked. Will Kreese give Rivas a chance before OC dumps him? Any chance to buy down his contract? So we've got a lot in that one question to unpack. Jason Kreese has been linked to the Orlando City job, and Carlos Rivas has been rumored to be on his way out. So before we can really answer those questions, is that happening?
Yeah. So first with the Kreese news, news came out that he was in advanced talks with the club. I spoke with the club yesterday and confirmed that he was in discussions. They would not say how far along these discussions were, if other candidates were still in discussions with the team or not, if he was a front runner, anything. So Kreese is not, at this moment in time, Orlando City's new coach. We just want to make that clear. They do expect to put out an announcement, I believe, sometime this week, could be in the next few days, about who they have selected. But whoever does come in will need to deal with these Carlos Rivas rumors. And the rumors have been that he is leaving for Benfica or other clubs in Portugal. There have been, I think, 2 or 3 that he's been linked with. So I think these are going to be decisions that the new coach does have a say in. He's going to come in. I believe that is why a lot of these transfer transactions have been on hold. We knew that they wanted to make moves fairly quickly when the transfer window opened, and that has not happened. And so Adrian Heath being fired, I think, had a lot to do with that, made a big impact. So the new coach coming in will be able to make his mark and make a decision on Rivas. In my personal opinion, I thought that they would want to hold on to Carlos a little bit a little bit longer, and that if any young DP were going to be on the way out, it would be Brian Roches. But we will see. I know that Carlos maybe has generated some more interest right now, and I mean, these are all rumors. When you see two different articles in the same day of two different clubs that a player is going to, it's pretty clear that nothing is set in stone, and they are rumors.
All right, there you go. Next question from McMarston at Mick_Marston. How much has Flavio been involved in the coaching search, if at all? So this is majority owner, Flavio Augusto da Silva. What have you heard in terms of his involvement?
I believe that the entire board of directors has been involved a lot in the coaching search. That includes Flavio, CEO Alex Leitao, Phil Rollins. I believe they've all been working together on this search, and I think he's played a big role.
All right, there you go. So next question from Steve Ellis at Vanian170. Will Kaká dare to play in the All-Star game before playing for OCSC again?
Okay, so I know this would make a lot of people angry, and I can understand why it would make you angry if he plays in an MLS All-Star game before an Orlando City game if he is healthy enough to play. But the league, I don't think, would look at it that way, and when you have to remember that this is a single entity business, so his contract and all the players' contracts technically are with MLS and the league, and this is a promotion and an event held by the league, and they would most probably want to see one of their largest stars in it if he were healthy to play. But that'll be a decision that they'll have to make when the time comes.
All right. I will say if he's injured, he's not going to force a way through it.
No, definitely not.
That's pretty obvious. But it will be interesting to see. He is an ambassador for the league. He does see that he has a responsibility. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that all comes together.
Definitely.
Another question from Steve Ellis coming up at Vanian170. Will coach continue with two up front to support Laren, as it's clear he plays much better with some decent supply? So is this innovative, unique look that we had in Vancouver just in terms of just shuffling the lineup and doing those sorts of things, and are we going to see something like that for Laren?
You know, I really think it depends on who's healthy and the personnel that are available at the time. With the current personnel that was available, with Kaká being out, with Brek Shea being out, with so many people missing, it was necessary to have Julio up there behind Kyle Laren, and they have worked well off of each other when Julio comes in as a backup or as a super sub, or when he starts like he did in this game. So I think it's definitely beneficial for Laren to have someone to work off of, whether that's Julio or whether that's Kaká or whether that's Kevin Molino. You've seen some, they were working together really well during that game too. So I think being as talented, as young and big as Kyle is, he always benefits having someone up there, and that's something that, you know, they'll keep in the back of their minds.
All right, McMarston is the next question at Muck_Marston. Any truth to the rumors around Rivas?
I just want to highlight the keyword rumors here. When anything is confirmed, I will definitely let you guys know. But as far as Rivas is concerned, I have heard more about other players potentially coming and going than I have about Rivas at this point. So like I said, when you have rumors of a player to multiple clubs in the same day, it's probably, the talks probably aren't that far along yet.
All right, next question coming up here, we have from Matt Matisse. I got to ask you again, let us know how to pronounce it, at Matt Matisse. Which transfers are in the works and how close are they to completion? So this has been a challenging issue we talked about a little bit. How do you get transfers locked in and lined up when you don't have a coach? Yeah,
and I think it's something they said that they, you know, Phil Rollins said that they were still working on these transfers, that they had been in discussions with players for weeks prior to the transfer window opening, and yet there still has been a hold. There still hasn't been any movement with the players. So I really honestly believe that you'll see movement as soon as a new coach is hired and works in with the team. But as far as we know right now, it's Jose Aja is the only player who is currently in the works. He still has yet to be announced. I know that there were paperwork issues, international transfer work that they were dealing with, and that can take some time, but he's the only one that we know of. We know Jonathan Teixeira was someone who they were working on bringing in the transfer window, and there's been holdups with him as well. You know, prior to Adrian Heath being fired, he kind of alluded it might have something to do with medicals, but never really came out and said that. So those are the only two that we know of for sure have been working to get in with the team and just haven't been able to yet.
All right, so just a reminder, you can tweet at OS Lions for some stoppage time questions that we'll tack to the end of this show. You can also hit us up on Facebook Live, where we're happy to be live streaming off of the Orlando Sentinel soccer account. All right, so we have a next question that's kind of a two-parter. First, via Twitter, McMarston again, at McMarston, any truth to Larin to Benfica rumors? And a second part via Facebook Live, Michelle Rosa, how much is Benfica offering Larin? So people seem to be on the Larin to Benfica train.
Well, at first it was Rivas to Benfica, now it's Larin to Benfica.
Everyone's going to Benfica, Alicia.
Everyone's going to Benfica. So, like I said, we need to deal with one thing at a time here, and I think none of those are going to come to fruition, if at all, until a coach is hired. Look at that. But so I think that obviously there's rumors going around. Sometimes agents can create rumors for players going certain places to generate interest in them. Right now there's nothing confirmed. I think things will move quickly when a new coach is hired, and those two names, Rivas and Larin, are obviously names that are going to generate some interest and some buzz and may have potential to make good transfers with. I will say, however, I believe that Larin is going to be held on to by the club until next season, because as it is right now, because he was a Generation Adidas player, his transfer fee, whatever they get for him, the club would only keep 50% of that because he's in his second year. If they hold on to him till the next calendar season and he plays just one game next year, they get 2/3 of that and the rest goes to the league. So it would highly benefit them to hang on to him throughout this season, but it depends on the interest.
Depends on the interest, but I have to say he's a very strong goal-scoring option for them, and I find it hard to believe with a team that highly values a playoff push to the point that you parted ways with a beloved coach, that you would also part ways with your go-to striker. Seems unusual.
Yes.
All right, next question via back to our Twitter account, Nick Baggio at NY10515. Could we expect new coach and new players by next home game? So Orlando City plays at Columbus, so they'll continue to be away.
Yeah.
Next home game?
I think you could expect a new coach by the next home game. New players, possibly, depends on how fast he can move, but I personally believe that a new coach will be announced before the next game.
That's going to make for some interesting travel. We're going to need to make sure there's Wi-Fi on all of Alicia's flights. All right, so next Twitter question, again from Mick Marston. Thank you so much for all these questions. At Mick_Marston, any updates concerning Jose Aja? You had touched on that a little bit. Have you seen him around at all? I know he briefly was around.
And I saw him in training last week before they left. Like you said, I've been on a really long road trip, as has the team. So they have not been back training since they've been back from Vancouver. Tomorrow will be the first day back. So a lot of these answers, as far as injuries and playing time and things like that, I'll be able to answer after tomorrow and the next few days. But he was with them training before they left last week, and he's big. He's 6'3", I believe. He looked about the height of David Mateos, but a little bit more muscular. So, I mean, he looks like he could be an asset for them on defense. But again, if they haven't announced it yet, it's because paperwork has not been finalized. And if they announce before paperwork is finalized, there's a chance that it could not go through, and that would not be good for them if they really want him.
Obviously. All right, next question via Twitter. RD at Jinx880. It has been awfully quiet since the Crease rumors began. What's causing the holdup? Well, this makes it sound like Crease is a done deal. Crease is not necessarily a done deal.
Crease is not necessarily a done deal. And also, I wouldn't really say 24 hours is a huge holdup. But yeah, so basically it was reported elsewhere that he was in advanced talks. Like I said, I spoke with the club yesterday. They confirmed that he was one of their candidates that they were in discussion with. They would not say that he was their only candidate and that it was a done deal with him and that they were working on getting just Crease. But I think that there's a lot of things going on, and if they're talking with him and they're talking with other candidates still, I don't think, a day is a significant holdup.
All right. I guess the other thing to keep in mind, Jason Crease is a hot prospect in MLS for a variety of reasons. Before NYCFC finished behind Orlando City in the playoff picture last year. He had great success at Real Salt Lake. He's a widely respected coach. That's going to tie him to a lot of jobs. That's going to lead to a lot of rumors. That's going to lead to possibly leveraging between multiple teams. So I think there's going to be a process that they're going to go through. And I promise you, when we have something, we will absolutely let you know as soon as we've got it nailed down. But we're not going to pass along rumors or incorrect information. All right, so our next tweet from McMarston again, Mc_Marston. Any updates on Rafael Ramos and Pedro Rivero's injuries? Yeah, those two have been out for quite a bit, and they're certainly talented players they could use.
Ramos is going to continue to be out for some time. His was a 4 to 6 week recovery timeline that he was given, and that was about a week and a half ago. Pedro Rivero, it was said that he was going to come back towards the end of the season. I don't think he's there yet, but I have heard that his recovery is going better than expected, and I was going to ask for an update on him sometime this week to see, if that timeline is still accurate, if it's still going to be closer to the end of the season, or we might be able to see him sooner. Like I said, no one's been training since we've been back from Vancouver yet, so I'll be out there early tomorrow and the rest of the week and be able to get these updates for you.
All right, we have another Facebook Live question that I'll pop to from Michelle Rosa. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing her name, and if you want to tell us how to pronounce it, I appreciate it. Is there a reason Kaká only plays home games, or is that just a coincidence? Now, he's missed some home games. So,
and he's played some away games. He played at Philadelphia this year. I'm trying to think of the other ones. But yeah, no, he has played away games. It is a coincidence that he has been able to play more home games than away games this season as far as injuries go. But no, it's not like a planned thing.
All right, so another, more on Kaká, another question. Patty Floyd at PVal Floyd. Has Kaká come back to full training with the team? And what games will he and Kyle miss for All-Star? So...
Okay, he has, as far as last week, like I said, I don't know yet about this week, but as far as last week, he was not back to full training with the team yet. He was out on the grass one day when the reserves were training with his trainer, but he was not back in with the team. And I believe the All-Star game, the only game that's close to that is the one 3 days after, and I'm trying to remember which team it is. But there's only one game that I think could cause a potential issue, and it would only be if they weren't recovered in time or if the travel was not didn't line up, because I believe it's the All-Star game's on the 28th and this game's on the 31st. So that's the only game.
They traditionally don't miss time for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be something, I would think it would have to be an injury for them to miss time. They allow for substitutions. They allow for them to, recover and take care of their bodies. So I don't anticipate that they would miss time if they both participate. So we'll just have to see how that goes.
Okay.
All right, next question via Twitter. McMarston, Muck_Marston. Will Brian Roches be transferred in this window? So he, to me, of all the people we've talked about, seems like the most likely transfer. So any thoughts on whether you think he'll go?
Like I said, it's really hard to determine what they're going to do with the new coach coming in. But in my opinion, he would be the first DP to go. And I think it would be plausible that he'd be traded in this window.
All right. Next one we have via Twitter, via the @OSLions account. Donald B. Money Jr. Will new coach have to learn present system or install his own for rest of season?
Okay, so as far as I know, all of the coaches who they were considering are experienced coaches that would be able to come in and not have to take a long time to learn a system. They inherently have this skill to adapt very quickly and have the same mindset and the same goals and the same type of offense, high scoring, attack, pass-oriented offense is everything that they were looking for. So whether a new coach comes in and toys with the shape a little bit, the formation, that could be something. But as far as the kind of culture and the playing style of the team, the new coach that comes in is already going to be someone that has that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think traditionally when you have a midseason replacement, they try to do what works best with the pieces that exist. And then if you're going to see a change, you can see it in the next year. And they're looking for somebody who's going to help with the playoff push. So they're going to have to be amenable to the players. There's no question on that.
For sure.
Next question via Twitter. Ian F. IF in ORL is the handle. Any update on the lawsuit filed by OCSC last year in Brazil regarding payment over Kaká?
So I actually asked Ileana about this because I was not here last year and what happened. And apparently there was an issue with Kaká going on loan. and the amount of money that they received in return for him, and that, I don't know, came to a resolution. I mean, it obviously has come to a resolution. I'm going to ask and see where that all stands, but the last we heard was that there was an issue over it.
Yeah, the last we'd heard at Brazil, I think you've kind of figured out from seeing all the pre-Olympic coverage, is a tricky place. A lot going on right now. And there was a lawsuit that precluded Orlando City acquiring any players from the club team where Kaká trained before Orlando City went up to the MLS level. It was not an easy dispute to deal with. Orlando City felt like they needed to be paid for that time that he was down with the team, and it's not something they were stepping away from. So I would not expect any player transactions with that club until, there's compensation. And so far, we don't have any confirmation on any compensation, but we're going to check into it. We want to make sure we answered your question and let you know. We will get back to you directly on Twitter, and we will get you an answer. All right. Next up from Twitter, Ian IF in Orlando again. Any thoughts on how far apart or whether Paul Tenorio's report is accurate? Crease and OCSC remain. So just to recap, former Orlando Sentinel reporter Paul Tenorio, who's working with 442, now had reported that they were in advanced talks, and we've sort of touched on where things stand. The tricky thing with advanced talks and with coaching searches is that there's always a possibility that people are leveraging other opportunities against this one, and I can speak probably a little bit more freely than Alicia a little bit. Jason Crease was forced out at NYCFC. I think he's going to look for a very stable environment where he is going to have a chance to grow and have a great influence on what the club is going to be going to. If he is Orlando City's top target, and I'm not saying he is, he's going to need reassurance that he's going to be able to do that in a meaningful way. He also is a hot commodity. He's been widely talked about at a whole lot of other jobs, so it's entirely possible that he may be leveraging some against the others, especially for jobs that aren't quite moving as quickly as Orlando City. So we'll have to see just where exactly that's going to go, which direction it's going to stand. But as Alicia explained, they're in talks. We don't have a final confirmation for you just yet, but keep following her at OS Lions, at OS Alicia Dean. You'll continue to get the latest updates on it. All right, so next question from Michael Butera. At what point do we decide to free up Kaká's salary? His absence is hurting us and we could use that money more productively. Well, there's a whole lot of reasons. First up, designated players, it's really a contract, difficult. Really difficult to get out of that contract, really difficult to free up. Second, still a very talented player. But Alicia, I'll let you go from there.
Yeah, I think he's going to play through his contract with Orlando City, which means through next year. Like I said, if they were to get rid of him, they're just going to lose out on money because no one's going to pick up $7 million contract and for a player who has been injured like that. So the best that they can hope for and what they are hoping for is that he nurses his injuries, doesn't risk getting re-injured, getting worse over this time period, that he comes back healthy, is able to remain healthy, close out the season, help them in a playoff push, and go into next year and try to lead them to what they're all hoping for, an MLS Cup at some point before he retires. But I don't think there's so much in him right now as the face of this franchise, and when he is on the field, when he is healthy, he's still contributing to the team significantly. So I think that's where they stand.
Absolutely. All right, we have a quick Facebook Live question. I'm going to pop in real quick again from Misel Rosa. Any more word on Vinter? I read that it was a family reason for his departure.
Yeah. It was a family reason for his departure, and I mean, there's not much else you can say that. We have to respect the player's privacy and what was going on. They're not going to announce what the family issue was, but it didn't have anything to do with the club. He loved it here. I even heard that he went around the office, which is not really heard of for a player. He went around the front office and said goodbye to everybody and gave people hugs and was, close to tears when he was leaving, as was everybody else. He was a huge part of the team. He loved it here. They loved him, and it was for family reasons that he wanted to be back in Switzerland.
I know it's hard, but this is definitely a European and Latin American difference. It sounds weird, I think, possibly to some American audiences that would be enough of a reason to leave a professional team. But it is a really huge difference. It's a huge distance. It's a hardship. A lot of these families tend to stay on land together and have multiple generations living nearby, and being present for that is a significant pull. And it really was not an extra shot at Orlando City. It's a legitimate cultural difference. So hopefully, that's about all we can say on that. So hopefully you understand and believe us when we tell you that. All right, so next Twitter question, Trey Helwig, at Trey Helwig. Has Heath, Adrian, I assume, watched any OC games, especially when H has played, that would be Harrison Heath, since his split from the team?
I don't know because I have not spoken with him about that, but I would assume that he'd be watching the games not only to see, how they do without him, but also to see how his son is doing because he's playing significant time the past few games. I mean, not any more, unfortunately. He sprained his MCL, but the past 3 games he's seen significant time. So
we've talked about long term. This could be a benefit for Harrison, just having the freedom to not be playing under the coach's, being the coach's son. It's an opportunity for him to prove himself on his own, and it's really unfortunate, the injury. You just got to feel bad for somebody who's worked that hard and gets that opportunity and for it to happen to him again. But he seems tough. He seems determined to fight back. He's very young, and he's had elite training. So I can't imagine that his dad wasn't watching, but we'll see and go from there. All right, next question, Trey Helwig, at Trey Helwig. What is Bobby Murphy's role after the new coach comes in? He has calmed the storm, no?
I think they're going to try to keep Bobby Murphy on as the assistant. I believe that's the reason why Mark Watson was also let go with Adrian Heath, because they expect that whatever new coach they bring in is going to have one guy, one assistant that he wants to bring him in with him. But they're very pleased with the rest of their staff, the rest of their assistant coaches, including Bobby Murphy. And he's a very upbeat and positive person. He's all about optimism. Everything he says is kind of like, an uplifting quote, and I've seen him walk around after practice, after every game in the locker room, slap 5 with the players. Kind of definitely someone who can keep them calm and keep mentality stable. So I think they're going to try to hang on to him as a club regardless of who they bring in.
All right, well, that sounds good. Next Twitter question we have up from emark21. How do you do the parentheses? I don't know what to say with that. emark21. Only because we got to ask, is Kaká available for next match? Too early.
Too early to tell. I will see tomorrow. Like I said, there has been no training this week since being back from Vancouver. It starts back up tomorrow and leading up to the Columbus game. So I'll see tomorrow if he's out on the field and get an update on his injury status then, and be sure to let you all know as soon as possible via Twitter.
All right, so next question via Twitter, again from Patty Floyd, at PValFloyd. Why does Kyle Aaron always have his right hand lower arm taped?
Patty, I saw this question last week, and I know we didn't get to it, but I did ask this week why that is, and it's just a standard compression sleeve that you see a lot of athletes wear on legs or arms or shoulders or whatever. There's nothing wrong with his hand or his arm. It's just something that he wears frequently.
All right, so next Twitter question we have from KTA. All right. Any truth to reports that Phil and Flavio da Silva had a falling out in recent weeks?
No. So as far as I know, and I know we have had multiple reporters go at it at different angles to Phil. I spoke with him one-on-one. Mike Bianchi spoke with him. George Diaz spoke with him. We've all put out stories about how the rumors and reports of the tension between the two of them are far exaggerated, and they work together much more closely and amicably than people think, and they're all right now.
All right, so that wraps up our questioning portion. We're going to just look ahead very quickly to next week, and then we're going to let you guys keep checking Alicia's Twitter account for all the latest updates. I don't want to keep her on too long because you have questions that we need to get answered, much reporting. So Orlando Pride play at Seattle Reign. Huge game, Saturday, 10 p.m. You can watch the live stream on OrlandoSentinel.com. Team highly motivated after suffering a loss. Still believes they're very much in the playoff hunt, but it would be huge to get a win in this game before they hit an Olympic break. So be watching for updates off of that game. And Alicia, at Columbus.
At Columbus, taking off Friday to head to Columbus to see that game. And like we've said before, we may see a new coach during that game, yes or no. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of question marks surrounding this game, but it would be a great opportunity if Orlando City can put in the heart and the energy and the effort that they did in this last game in Vancouver and pull out not only a point but 3 points. It could mark a turning point and a change in the season for them.
All right, so if you have more questions, keep hitting us up at @OS Lions. We will continue to answer questions, but we want to get back to the reporting this week. We kept our show a little bit lean to let you all get some answers to the things that you want to hear. But keep reaching out to us. We will have a show next week. Maybe we'll have a new coach, maybe not. But we'll be here to answer your questions no matter what's going on. With Alicia Delgado, I'm Ileana Limon Romero, and thanks for joining us.